Next we will discuss connective tissue. What is a connective tissue? As its name indicates, it connects or anchors the various body organs, the various body parts. In total, it is the tissue which allows the body to work as an integrated whole. ये एक ऐसा टिश्यू है बच्चे जो पूरी बॉडी को एक साथ एक यूनिट के तौर पर काम करने में हेल्प करता है. नेक्स्ट थिंग, इट इज द मोस्ट abundant tissue in the body of animals. The tissue which is found in the maximum amount in the body of humans, in the body of animals, is connective tissue. Intercellular space is present as cells are loosely packed. This tissue is composed of 4 to 5 different kind of cells, that we will discuss. But before that, we will discuss certain more basic terms about it. And the other one is matrix. What is matrix? Matrix is a homogeneous gel-like substance present in this special kind of tissue which is used to connect the various kind of cells. This matrix is of different kinds. It may be of solid state like in bones and ligaments. It may be of fluid or liquid like in blood. As we discussed, blood and lymph are the two connective tissues which has a fluid matrix. So on this matrix, the connective tissue is differentiated into two forms, the solid and the fluid connective tissue. The next one, this tissue is composed of special kind of protein fibers, and those protein fibers are of three kinds. The first one is white fibers. The second one is yellow fibers, and the third kind of fibers are reticular fibers. They are exist in a very small amount. The major composition of fibers is of two kinds. That is the first two. That is white fibers and yellow fibers. White fibers are made up of a special kind of protein named as collagen, which provide strength. Yellow fibers are made up of a special kind of complex protein, which is made up of carbohydrates and proteins, that is elastin, that provides elasticity. It makes the tissues, the connective tissues, elastic. And the reticular fibers are made up of reticulin. These all three are proteins, which some are complex and some are the simple proteins. So these are the three fibers by which the connective tissue is made of. The type of cells which are present in the connective tissue. The first type of cells which are present in the connective tissue are fibroblasts. The branched cells which are known as fibroblasts are loosely packed in the connective tissue. These cells are formed from the ground substance and matrix of the connective tissue. The second ones are the adipose cells, the fat cells, the large oval shaped cells which has a fat globule in it are known as fat cells. These cells are also known as adipocytes, and these kind of cells makes a special kind of connective tissue which is known as adipose tissue. The third ones are macrophages. The large cells which possess a large nucleus. These cells helps in the destruction and killing of microorganisms which may cause disease to an organism. So these are macrophages. They provide us immunity. They directly attack the pathogens. The fourth type of cells which are present in the connective tissue are immunocytes. Immune word means protection, immunity, Suraksha Tantra. The cells which provide immunity to us. These are also the kind of WBC, white blood cells, which are present in the connective tissue, and they produce certain antibodies, and those antibodies will then further fight with the pathogen. But there is one difference between the immunocytes and the macrophages. They attack directly, whereas immunocytes do not attack the microbes directly. They produce certain chemicals known as antibodies which further deals with the microbes. They fight with the microbes itself directly, and they do not fight directly. They produce antibodies which will help in the protection against the microbes. The fifth kind of cells which are present in the connective tissue are mast cells. Mast cells performs the function of secretion of various materials, various chemicals, and those chemicals perform their respective functions. Like mast cells release anticoagulant. What is anticoagulant? Our blood has the capacity to stop its outflow. हमारा blood बच्चे अपने outflow को खुद रोक सकता है from an injured tissue, but in the closed vessels, when it is flowing in our blood vessels, that doesn't stop its flow. Why? Because there is an anticoagulant present in the blood which do not allows the blood to make that stoppage. Next, it secretes certain anti-inflammatory factors. The factors which protect us from the various inflammations, from various infections, those all secretions are released by mast cells. Now we will discuss the types of connective tissues. The first one is areolar connective tissue. That is also known as loose connective tissue. The cells are loosely packed, bache. It is the simplest connective tissue as well as it is the most abundant connective tissue. We'll discuss 5 kind of connective tissues, bache, and the most abundant connective tissue, most simplest connective tissue is loose or areolar connective tissue. Composed of all the 3 kind of fibers which we had discussed, bache, the yellow fibers, the white fibers of collagen, and the reticulin fibers, which is made up of reticulin protein. So composed of all 3 kind of fibers. It joins skin to muscles. It helps in the combination of skin to the muscles, bache, as well as it helps in the filling of space between the organs. If there is a space present between the organs and we want to stop the certain mechanical movements of those organs, then this space is filled by the areolar or loose connective tissue. It is found around the muscles, around the blood vessels, and around the nerve cells. It made a special kind of tissue known as nervous tissue. Next we'll discuss the functions, and it's a very important NCERT question. What is the function of, or what are the functions of areolar or loose connective tissue? The first function is packing. Areolar connective tissue helps in the packing of various internal organs. It helps in the packaging of internal organs, which protects them from mechanical shocks. Second, it helps in binding. It helps in the binding of various internal organs like muscles to the skin. So the second function is binding. The next is repair. This tissue helps in the repair of the body parts where usual wear and tear occurs. This function is performed by the epithelial tissue as well. In my previous video I explained about it. But along with that epithelial tissue, connective tissues also helps in the body, in the repair of the tissues during an injury. So these are the functions of areolar connective tissue. Next we will discuss the second type of connective tissue, that is dense connective tissue. As its name indicates, the cells are compactly arranged, fibers are compactly arranged, and it makes a dense matrix. In this, the fixed arrangement of rows of fibroblast cell and collagen fibers exist, due to which it forms a dense matrix. That is why this tissue is known as dense connective tissue. It is studied in the two forms, two types. One is the tendons, another one is ligament. Tendons are inelastic and connect muscles to bones. So tendons are inelastic. Why? Because they are composed of only the white fibers, which are made up of collagen, which provides strength. So tendons are composed of white fibers. That is why they only have a strength, they only have a toughness. They do not have any elasticity. They do not possess any elasticity. Whereas the ligaments, which connects bone to bone, those are elastic in nature. They are strong, they are composed of white fibers, but along with the white fibers, they also have certain yellow fibers as well, which provides elasticity. White fibers made up of collagen provide strength, whereas the yellow fibers made up of elastin provide elasticity. They have white fibers as well as yellow. That is why they are strong as well as have elastic in nature, elasticity. They only possess of white fibers, so they only have the strength. They are inelastic. Tendons connect muscle to bone and ligament connect bone to bone. The diagram which is shown on the board is this much. This is the arm, the bicep muscle. Here is a here is a bone present, which is known as humerus, the shoulder bone, which is connected to the shoulder. Then there is this portion which has that ligament which connect this bone to two bones present here. The upper one is radius and lower one is ulna. So this is radius and this one is ulna. The muscle is connected to bone by tendon. These two are tendons, and the bone to bone is connected by a ligament. So these are the two types of dense connective tissues. The third kind of connective tissue which we have to discuss is adipose tissues. Adipose tissue is composed of special kind of cells known as adipocytes. These are the fat storage cells which stores the fat molecules in them. So what is their function? The first one is storage. They store the fat molecules inside them, which later on provides the energy to the body of an organism when the scarcity of food is there. Second, insulation. Fat tissues being the poor conductors of heat, provides insulation to the body. They do not allow the body heat to lose away easily. That is why the fatty people feel the warmth in summers very high as compared to the lean ones, and in the winters they feel less chillness as compared to the lean ones. जो लोग थोड़े से फैटी होते हैं बच्चे, उन्हें गर्मी ज्यादा लगती है और सर्दी कम, because of the presence of insulating covering, that is of fat tissues over them. Next बच्चे, shape. Adipose tissue is present between the organs, over the organs, like the thigh region, hip region बच्चे, inside the internal visceral organs. So it provides the shape to the body, as adipose tissue will decide the shape of various organs. So these are the functions of adipose tissues. Next we'll discuss the skeletal connective tissue. As its name indicates, it forms the endoskeleton of vertebrates. The vertebrates are the organism which possess vertebral column, backbone, which is also known as. So endoskeleton of vertebrates body is made up of skeletal connective tissue. It is the connective tissue which has a hard matrix composed of collagen fibers and a special kind of proteins released by a special kind of cells. This tissue is differentiated into two various forms, that is cartilage and bones. And both of these tissues possess lacunae. What are lacunae? The living cells of this tissue lies in fluid filled spaces. जो बच्चे इस टिश्यू की सेल्स हैं वो फ्लूइड फिल्ड स्पेसेस में पड़ी होती हैं, and those spaces, those fluid filled spaces are known as lacuna or lacunae. Lacunae is plural term. So what are lacunae in the skeletal connective tissue? The fluid filled spaces in which the living cells of dense connective tissue, of skeletal connective tissue are placed, are known as lacunae. So skeletal connective tissue is of two types. The first one is cartilage. In cartilage, the special kind of cells named as chondrocytes are placed apart from each other. Which has a layer over it, which layer is known as perichondrium, the outermost layer of cartilage. And these are the chondrocyte cells. This layer, this perichondrium, also possess certain blood vessels. This skeletal connective tissue do not have any kind of mineral deposition over it. Bones, which we will discuss after that, which is the second type of skeletal connective tissue, has a rich deposition of minerals like calcium and phosphate, but cartilage do not have any kind of mineral deposition over them. Its matrix is composed of a sugary substance named as chondrin, secreted by chondrocytes. What are chondrocytes? The cells which make the cartilage fibers are known as chondrocytes. They also have a delicate fine network of collagen fibers which provide its strength. They are not easily breakable. So that these are the cartilages. Cartilages are present in the pinna of ear. Cartilages are present inside the body of organisms. Cartilage are the main endoskeleton system of cartilaginous species, which are also known as chondrichthyes. So these are certain parts where cartilages are present. Second kind of skeletal connective tissue are bones. Bones are the hardest tissue of our body. They are made up of special kind of cells known as osteocytes or osteoblasts. These cells are arranged in a particular manner around a nutritive media, and that nutritive media is known as Harvesian canals. So if someone asks you what are Harvesian canals, bache, these are the matrix, or these are present in the matrix of bones and composed of the minerals, are referred as Harvesian canals. And around that mineral medium, the osteocytes are arranged in a fixed pattern. These are the osteoblasts or osteocytes. These osteoblasts are connected with each other with a fine fiber, and these fibers are known as canaliculi. Canaliculus is singular, and these canaliculi are numerous in number, so they are referred as plurally as canaliculi. So what are Harvesian canals? The mineral depositions over which or around which the osteoblast or osteocytes are arranged, and the osteoblasts are connected with each other with a fine network of fibers that is known as canaliculi. So these are the bones. Bones are hard in nature. They makes the endoskeleton. They provide the shape. They also forms the blood cells. As bones possess a soft tissue, the long bones possess the soft tissues named as red bone marrow. And the red bone marrow is responsible for the formation of blood cells. Now we will discuss the difference between the bones and cartilage. The first one is on the basis of their nature. Bones are hard and non-flexible. They do not bend. Unflexible, you can say. They do not bend at all. Whereas cartilages are comparatively soft and flexible. The bones are hard and inflexible, whereas cartilages are comparatively soft as compared to bones and are flexible in nature. This is the pinna of my ear, bache. You can bend the pinna very easily. That is because of it is made up of cartilage, and cartilages are flexible in nature. The second basis on which we do the difference is matrix. The matrix of bone is made up of osine. It's a special kind of protein, which makes the matrix of the bones. Whereas the matrix of cartilage is made up of chondrin, which is secreted by chondrocytes. The third difference is on the basis of mineral deposition. Bones have a space, or you can say bones are meant to deposit the minerals like calcium and phosphorus. So mineral deposits are present, or you can say the bones can store the minerals, that is calcium and phosphorus. Whereas cartilage do not store or do not have the mineral depositions over it. So they do not have any storage house or storage space for the minerals like calcium and phosphorus, but bones can store the minerals. They have the deposition of the minerals, that is calcium and phosphorus. The fourth one is presence or absence of blood vessels. Bones have certain spaces which have blood vessels, but cartilages do not possess blood vessels. They do not require the blood supply So the blood supply is not present inside the cartilages. It is present only on the outer space of the cartilage. Next, pores. Bones are porous in nature. So in bones there are certain pores are present. Let us suppose this is bone, bache. The pores are not present here. The pores are present in this view. Those pores are meant for the flow of blood vessels into them. Those blood vessels will helps in the deposition of calcium and phosphorus into it, into the Harvesian canals. So the pores are present in bones, whereas cartilages are non-porous, or you can say the pores are absent in them. Next one, the next difference is marrow cavity. I explained you when I was discussing about the bones, that bones, or especially the longer bones of our body, possess a soft tissue, and that soft tissue is known as bone marrow. Red bone marrow and white bone marrow, which leads to the formation of blood cells. So on that cavity, on that marrow cavity, we differentiate the bones and the cartilages. Bone marrow or marrow cavity is present in the bones. As the name indicates, they are referred as bone marrow because this cavity is present in bones. Next, whereas cartilages do not have any kind of marrow cavity. They do not have any kind of marrow cavity. So marrow cavity, or you can say the soft cavity, is absent in cartilages. So that is the difference between the bone and the cartilages. As well as the skeletal connective tissue's function depends on these. They form basically the endoskeleton of the body. Second one, these bones and cartilages are responsible for the shape of the organs. So that is the function of skeletal connective tissue along with its types. The next type of connective tissue which we have to discuss is fluid connective tissue. The tissue in which the matrix is in the form of fluid, that is the liquid form. That tissue is known as fluid connective tissue. It is the most mobile tissue of the body of animals, which can flow, which can transport the materials from one part to another, which can transport itself from one part of the body to another part. That is known as fluid connective tissue. In multicellular complex organisms, this tissue flows in closed vessels. Due to the presence of vessels in which that tissue flows, that fluid, that liquid flows, this tissue is also known as vascular tissue. This tissue is further divided into two forms: blood and lymph. These are the two types of fluid connective tissue which we'll discuss one by one.